Well, hey, what is going on, Liberty fans? My name is Nick Kirby, and welcome to the A Sea of Red live podcast. This is the basketball edition. The show is presented, as always, by Jason Roeder Real Estate, covering all of your residential and commercial real estate needs in the Lynchburg area and beyond, and our newest partner, Ironclad Coffee. I am joined tonight by special guest co-host Chad Hasson. Chad, what is going on?
Man, I love this show. I love it. Gets me pumped up for the ASUN turn. Like, I've watched more ASUN basketball in this first 3 weeks of ASUN than I have in my entire life, and it's mostly because of this show. So feels great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chad, it's awesome to have you. Giving Will a week off. You know, when you're a doctor, you have to rest and recover. So this is his rest and recover week. He'll be back next week with us. Coming up tonight, Kyle Rode's going to join us here in just a few minutes. Our guy Jon Manson is going to check in, and of course, Ritchie Longshots will be here. Hopefully, able to take a few seconds away from some other sporting event that's going on tonight to give you his sage and wise picks. But before we get started, if you are watching tonight on YouTube, please take 2 seconds, hit that like button, and while you're there, be sure to subscribe to the AC of Red YouTube channel, posting all kinds of great content, press conferences. Chad's been doing some interviews with the baseball team, all kinds of cool stuff. So make sure you're subscribed there. And then the Sea of Red podcast is also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Subscribe and leave a 5-star review there. All that kind of stuff really helps us continue to grow the show and provide you with more content. Well, Chad, let's jump into it. Let's just quickly recap the two games. First, the really, really good one to recap. Liberty destroyed last year's regular season champ Jacksonville State 75-41. Brody Peebles was insane. Darius McGee was insane. Allowed 41 points. One of the best defensive games in the history of Liberty basketball. Chad, what was your thoughts on this one?
Oh, it was a blast. It was so fun to see. I was sitting down there at the game, and everybody was clicking. It was good to see Blake come into his starting role. I think it might have been his second game starting. But it was fun to see, and it's something throughout the last 3 or 4 years we haven't done that well, and that is cover the spread and then kind of blow teams out. And you've been harping on it for so long. And then the next morning we wake up and we were ranked 53 in the net. And I was like, wow, Nick's a savant. He was right. So yeah, it was fun, man. It was a blast. It was really good to see the team kind of click on all cylinders at home. And it was a fun game to be a part of.
Yeah, it felt like every piece of the defense was working. Jacksonville State, I mean, they look lost from the tip, and I know Jacksonville State is struggling. Our guy John had them dead last in his updated power rankings today. But look, this was I feel like this. Do you feel like this was kind of like a little bit of a statement win for Liberty? Like, hey, you guys won this last year. We're not just gonna beat you. We're gonna beat you by almost 40.
Yeah, their social media account put something out like "Look who's back" or "Guess who's back" or something like that. And although McKay and team probably didn't have any revenge on their mind, I know that us fans did, and I'm sure that when it got to a point, I will say that McKay has been really good about not blowing out teams in terms of he believes in a little bit of sportsmanship, but he also has kind of come into the realm of we have to blow out teams for our net rankings and that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely had all things clicking and working in order to get such. I mean, we at one point we had doubled them up. It was 35-72, and it was just like, wow, this is quite the show.
And before we get on to the next game, we're not as much fun to talk about shooting. Let's talk about Brody Peebles. Uh, he's just been such a revelation for this team, and that big, just extra scorer that felt like maybe at times was missing last year. Uh, what's your thoughts on him and just his? It just feels like he's filling the role that he's in as well as you could do.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody who's been around the program and the guys would tell you that I haven't seen it as much because I'm not in practice, but you talking to the players, they're like, man, Brody can fill it up. And he scored 3,000 points in high school in a competitive league in Alabama. And as soon as he got here, people were talking about how he could score. I think he's taken it even to a bit higher level this year with changing some things on his shot. I know it kind of looks like it's not a quick release, but my guess is it's a little bit quicker than it was last year. And he's deadly with it. He puts in a ton of time in the gym, and he is one of those gym rats that is constantly trying to perfect his craft. And I would say less about Brody improving and more about the opportunity he's been given. He sat behind Keegan last year, who had a similar game, being a knockdown 3-point shooter. So I think this is more just like a coming out party for that Brody's always been capable of. He's just been given the opportunity this year. Really fun to see. That's the thing when you have I mean, we talk about it a lot, but what McKay has done in terms of year after year after year success, part of that is guys have to come in and wait their turn. And I think, it's really good to see Brody kind of be patient, wait his turn. And now he's shooting lights out from three and contributing to what's been an epic run here of late.
Yeah. And then real quickly, the other game of the week. Nope. Well, we might have another slide for that. Oh, well. But Liberty does fall 60-59 to EKU. Honestly, if you look through the stats, it was surprising that was only a 3-point game. Liberty just, I think they were 4 for 23 for three. It was their worst 3-point shooting game since 2017. I don't know. I chalk it up just to one of those games where you didn't make a shot. And, the style that Liberty plays, you're going to have those kind of games. That style also is the reason they win so many games. You have any other thoughts on that before we get to Mr. Kyle Rode here?
No, and I know I'm going to be considered a homer, a Kool-Aid drinker, whatever you want to call, but I've watched enough college basketball, participated in enough college basketball seasons. You're going to have these outliers. I am very glad it came when it did. No harm done, really. I mean, this team is so mentally strong. They're going to bounce back. We lost a few fans. I will say that we lost a few fans who were drinking the Kool-Aid and running with the momentum. That loss on Sunday to a good EKU team, an improving EKU team. A few of the fans fell off the bandwagon, but I am positive that this team did not fall off the bandwagon. They all still believe that they can accomplish all their goals. And I just know that one of the best teams in school history lost to Stetson and scored like 42 points or something like that. It just happens. You just hope and pray that doesn't happen to you in a one bid league. You hope and pray it doesn't happen to you in March. It just happens. You have those nights. It's funky. It's weird. And as a stats guy, I studied these things called standard deviations. And what standard deviations is, you compile all the stats, and if it's an outlier, if it falls a certain percentage points away from the middle, then you don't even consider it. You throw it out. It's like, hey, that doesn't even count. And that's what I feel like we can do with a few games. I mean, this isn't the last time we'll put up a stinker. In my experience, this isn't the last time we'll put up a stinker, and I'm okay with that. And I still think the team is built on things that are very lasting, and that's defense and great shooting. So not a blip on my radar, although it kind of stunk Sunday, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm with you there. We'll talk more with that when we get into more of our conversation with Jon Manson in just a minute, but let's go ahead and bring in Kyle Rode. All right, joined now by Liberty senior forward Kyle Rode and Jason Porter of Jason Porter Real Estate. Fellas, how we doing tonight?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
absolutely. I was good right up until Chad Hasson brings in standard deviation on a Monday night. I mean, it's having doctoral flashbacks.
Well, we promise that'll be the last time of that tonight. No, we can't promise that here. Jason, let's have you go ahead and get us started here with some questions for Kyle.
Yeah, a little bit of my thunder there, Nick, but as you usual, but Kyle, I think if you would have chalked up the statistics that we just kind of ran through, a 17% shooting night for you guys from threes, atypical for you, 9-point night. Darius has 7. The other point guards pick up the slack, but to have still only lost that game by 3 points. You guys had a day or two to digest it now at this point. Obviously, it's a rearview mirror thing, but we get to go back and kind of be retroactive. What have you kind of seen on that as you thought about that on a long bus ride home, I'm sure?
Yeah, 100%, man. I think when you get in those kind of games, like if you're a basketball player, you've been through them, right? And so I think the best part about our system is defensively, we're built to stay in those games where, hey, maybe you're not shooting it well enough, but at the end, hopefully you got a chance to win it. And felt like our guys we were all saying the right things, trying to make defensive stands. They hit some great runs, 9 points or 11 points, whatever it was, and just to battle back, be able to chip away and be able to tie it at the end. I mean, super proud of our group, and especially when you're not shooting the ball well. I know that fractures teams sometimes, and even though it was a loss, everything we want in this season is still ahead of us, and yeah.
So the national championship's on the night, and so I got a football related question. Kind of, a lot of people, well, Coach McKay and a few others I have heard say that Kyle is the best leader we've had, and he's the Tim Tebow of this team. All right. So at any point, do you feel that we're at a point where you need to like slam the table and scream, "Not on my watch," and do the whole Tim Tebow rah rah ree thing? Are we at that point yet? And if we do get to that point, would you be willing to step up to the table and give us the Tim Tebow speech of your life if we needed it?
Hey, that's a really good one. No, we're not at that point. The sky's not falling, nothing like that. And but yeah, whatever our team needs to win, I think that's the beauty of playing here. Like everybody listens to everybody, right? It's horizontal leadership. Like you can input information, speak freely, and you got guys that you trust with your life to check you and to also call you up and call you out. And but so yeah, if that time ever came, I would definitely feel comfortable enough to do that, but not right now.
Good. Kyle, it felt like maybe the biggest positive of the game was the play of Colin Porter playing against a really difficult team in terms of a team that likes to turn you over and force steals. Felt like he really just stepped up in a game where everyone was cold shooting. Was that kind of your takeaway of the game, just the play of Colin?
Yeah, CP is so solid, and he does everything you want a true point guard to be and to do. He can shoot it, he can pass it. He has finishing ability at the rim, like we saw, and he's a gamer, man. And he did a great job. I know he was super excited to play back in Kentucky, like I was, and he did a great job. And that's what our team is, man. We're built up of guys that are ready for challenges to step up, and when their role is needed more in some games, they're all about it. So he's been great for us, especially as a freshman.
Kyle, taking a peek at the standings now, we've got a little bit of a log jam in second place. I know you're not allowed to look at that, we'll tell you. But got 4 teams that are tied up at 2-1 at that mark. Is that do you think that's kind of indicative of what's of the season ahead of us, or is that just kind of an early traffic jam?
Yeah, I think 18 games in a conference season. I think it's a long one, right? And teams after Christmas can drop some, and teams can win some depending on where they are, and it's a long one. So you just gotta block that out right now and take it game by game, practice by practice, and then that stuff kind of shakes itself out. I know the conference has gotten a lot better since I've been a freshman as well, and it's super cool to see the level of basketball that the ASUN has right now, and we're super excited that we're able to compete in it, and I'm just going to take it game by game, and that stuff all shake out itself.
Yeah, that's my question. On top of that is we're watching again the national championship tonight. I'm going to keep saying that so Nick hears me. The national championship game is tonight, and football is one of those where game 1 can just ruin the rest of your season, and game 2 can ruin the rest of your season. Basketball, especially where we're at right now with our situation, it feels like a crescendo to March. Do you guys feel that? Do you talk about that? Like, we need to be playing our best ball in March. And does it make a game like Sunday easier to shake off because you're like, all right, we still have all of our goals ahead of us and we need to improve from that, and glad it happened now and not later. Talk to us just about that whole process of developing, so that way you are playing your best ball at the end, which is a little bit different than college football.
Yeah, I think we kind of take it as a perspective of each game we're trying to stack. Each day we're trying to stack a day to where when March does come, we're our best selves, and in that deposit that we've been putting in all season really just keeps building on itself. And by March, hopefully you're healthy and hopefully you're playing your best basketball. And I think it's different than football, like you said, just because every game, one lost season doesn't get you out of the college football playoff. But at the same time, I don't like to lose. I know we got a bunch of guys that don't like to lose. So trying to stay positive and keep that perspective as best you can is important though too. So.
All right, here's my stat nerd question of the night for you, Kyle. So defense playing really well. 7 consecutive games. You guys have allowed 1 point or less per possession, 11 of the last 12. Last year, I think your high water was 4. How good is your defense playing right now? How happy are you after a couple games earlier in the year where you had some teams that really were able to put up some big numbers to get you? How happy are we with your defense at this stage of the season?
Yeah, no, I think our intentionality defensively has been there, and our execution has gotten a lot better. And still, you can see how lapses of small incisions, as like Coach talks about, can lead to 11-0 runs or 9-0 runs, and then you're battling back. And so I think we're going to keep getting better and try to eliminate those as best we can. But I think the work we've been putting in daily has really been paying off, and there's still another couple levels for us to get to defensively. And I think that's the best part, is we're still pursuing our best self defensively. And it's encouraging though when you have numbers like that and you feel like you can get stops really whenever you want. And I think that's the belief kind of we all have right now, and going to keep building towards that.
If Nick gets the stat nerd question, I get the sports medicine nerd question here, Kyle. I think our audience may be a little bit surprised to know something. Post game, when you guys are home, you go lift. And I think a lot of folks would be floored by that, because I don't want to speak for Nick and Chad, but I think when we leave the gym, we're not thinking about that. We're dragging ourselves out and we're looking for an IV and whatever else, and yet you guys go to the weight room and get after it a little bit. Tell us about the post-game lift and how that fits into everything, because that seems crazy to the civilians out here.
Yeah, 100%. Once the game's over, you're normally due for another 45 minutes to an hour, depending on lift and recovery with Shrine. And the lift is great. Like Coach Hornet does such a good job with our lifting schedule and programming, and it's really specific for who you are as an athlete. And we all go in there, and it's really kind of fun to be with the guys a little bit and get a quick lift in. So it's nothing too crazy, but it's really intentional and purposeful, and it actually really helps too. So it's pretty unique.
Kyle, who on the team? I mean, we have leaders. You said it's horizontal leadership. Who on the team kind of can break the ice with the comedic relief here and there? I see. I mean, there's a lot of guys that clown around a lot of times, but who's the one guy that you can count on? Like, all right, Coach, just let us have it. Everybody's tense. Who's the one guy that can come in and everybody's like, oh yeah, like he just cracks everybody up. Take us inside of that little bit of team camaraderie.
I think you would say Gabriel. I think you would see G. McKay. I think he does a really good job of. He's so well respected in our locker room and on the court, what he does, and at the same time, he's got a great personality about him, and a leadership gift on his life that kind of, like you said, he can make a tense situation almost feel comforting, but at the same time, like, we know it's still serious. So I think I would definitely say G.
Even if his dad is in the situation I just said, it's his father, the man who raised him is the one chewing you guys out. He still can lift the mood that way.
Oh, he's definitely had the longest time to navigate how
That's
to handle
true.
that.
That's true. That's
so
true.
I think he's got a special gift in that. So
Nice. Very cool.
Awesome. Well, Kyle, thanks so much for taking some time to join us this week. 2 home games this week. Everyone come out, support the Flames, who are having a great season, and we can't wait to see what's next, Kyle.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me come out and support us on Thursday and Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that was our guy, Kyle Rode. So, Jason, I got a question for you, Mr. Real Estate. So there's a big debate between buying a house or a townhouse. What are some of the pros and cons with that?
Yeah, great question, Nick. So I think the biggest part of it really is just going to depend on the individual and knowing what would be the actual lifestyle that they want to have. Obviously, if you're in a townhouse, you've got a little bit more of a tight neighborhood community. You're not having to worry about mowing the grass and some things along those lines, and you wind up paying for that offset cost-wise with paying what's called the HOA, or the Homeowners Association. You probably heard about that. But at the same time, when it comes to reselling or even with rent, townhouses can be a little bit slower on the move because you're looking at a big block and everything kind of moves slowly. You don't have the most expensive townhouse on the block, kind of a thing like you do in a regular single family home. So to contrast that, on the single family home side or just the home side of things, you're getting the yard and you're getting some space. And a lot of people, of course, sort of see themselves graduating from the townhouse and moving into a house because they want some space and they want the yard and the kids and the pets and the dogs and stuff to run around. So just depends on lifestyle. A whole different category of discussion too when it comes to townhouse versus single family for investment properties and those kind of things too. But definitely speak that language as well. If anyone wants to talk about that, I'd be glad to offer some expertise and experience. And a little sidebar on that, certainly help clients buying for themselves personally, but also in the investment front. Both townhouses and single families are great investments right now. The market's definitely picking back up.
I got a question for Jason. I don't get a chance to put him on the fryer here too often. Jason, it came up today. I have a friend who is looking. He's in the construction business and remodeling and all that. And he was like, I think me and my wife have decided we're going to flip a house. He wants to try to flip a house. And he was asking me and a couple of other guys, he was like, how much should I put into a house to flip it? Like, if I buy it for $100,000, is there some guidelines, like, or is it just all situational? Or is there some guidelines like, man, if you're getting up there into 10, 20% of what you paid for it, it's probably not a good idea to try to flip it. Is there some, there's tons of guidelines in real estate. Is there anything general for that? And sorry if that's put you on the spot there.
No, for sure. I better be able to answer that. It's all math, basically, Chad, is what it comes down to first and foremost. But most importantly, I'll just give you the quick equation on this. The quick equation is what you can resale the property for. So in other words, it's called ARV, after repair value, after you've done all the work, all the renovations, whatever else, what the house could go for on the market and actually sell. And you begin to actually work your math backwards. So you take that top sale price of what you would get for the house, and then you work your way down. And that tends to dictate, obviously, whether it's a good deal or not. The last couple of years, the margins have been so tight because the market's been so hot. It's hard to find the good deal and buy it at the front side. But the other famous saying on that is you make your money on the purchase and not on the sale. So in other words, you've got to really, really, truly buy low. But really, when it comes to the math side of it, you sort of reverse engineer that, going to that what we could put it back on the market and actually sell it for after the repairs are done.
Makes total sense, man. I appreciate it. I knew there was a reason that we were aligned on this podcast here tonight. So I'll take that back to my friend.
There you go.
All right, Jason. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate you coming on and all your support as always.
Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good week.
Yeah, you too.
You too.
See you at the Liberty Arena this week.
Right on.
All right, we're going to play a quick clip from yesterday's press conference with Colin Porter. Thought this was really interesting. Haven't got to hear a lot of Colin in the press, so we're going to play quick from that, and then Jon Manson will be on.
Hey, Colin, tough night. You guys, were, I think, 4 of 23 shooting from 3, season low in percentage. Was it just one of those nights where the ball just wasn't going in, or was it something EKU was doing to limit you guys getting good looks?
I think throughout the game we got a lot of good looks, especially late, and the shots that we hit. I mean, a high percentage of the time we work on it every day. So I think it was just one of those nights where the ball didn't bounce our way, but we're ready to get back in the gym and watch film and learn and be ready to go for the next game.
And Colin, take us back through that last play with 6 seconds left. You get into the lane. Obviously, they're going to let you have the 2. But did you know you had Jackson there, or was there somebody else you were looking for, or was that how you guys kind of?
Yeah, I believe it was Darius and JJ on that left side, and I mean Darius, everyone knows what he can do, and they decided to stay tight, and I had another great shooter right next to him in JJ, and it's a shot that if he's wide open, he'll hit it 85, 90% of the time. So we were happy with that result.
I know it was disappointing to come out on the losing end, but being able to get back to your home state and playing Kentucky, and you had a good game yourself. I know you traded for a win, but was it nice to be back close to home?
Yeah, it was awesome to see family and friends. Basketball consumes a lot of our time. Being 5 hours away, this is something that I don't take for granted to come back and see everyone, and it's something that I'll cherish for definitely the 4 years that I'm at Liberty.
All right, that was Colin Porter. I think there was a guy that we might have heard in our midst right now. I think Jon Manson might have been asking some questions there. But yeah, I really enjoyed that press conference from Colin. Really thought it was interesting how he said, "Yeah, look, the shots just didn't fall. Like we were happy with the shots we got. It wasn't, it wasn't a didn't feel like the typical like well, they played great defense. And he's just like, yeah, the shots just didn't fall today." John, was that kind of your takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those nights. I mean, I think you tweeted it out there, Nick, that this was Liberty's lowest percentage. There you go, since 2017. 17%, 4 of 23. When you shoot like that, I mean, it's only so many teams you're going to beat, regardless of who you're playing. And as good as this team has been, especially shooting the ball throughout the year, I think I like our chances. Most nights, and I don't think we'll see many nights where Liberty only makes 4 threes in a given game.
Yeah, I mean, Eastern Kentucky shot 10 of 22. That's 46% from 3. Honestly, if you look through the box score, it's insane that this was a 3-point game and that Liberty had 2 pretty good looks from 3 to tie the game at the end. I don't know. We talked about it. It's just one of those. It's going to happen. John, I'm curious. I had said earlier I'd talk to you about, and I've talked about this forever. Look, we always want to criticize living and dying with the 3 when it doesn't work, but this is what wins Liberty so many games. If Liberty didn't shoot this many 3s, they're not going to be a legitimate top 75 team nationally with the personnel that they have. Do you kind of feel that same way? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the program that Coach McKay has built. I mean, he's been here for a few years, and he's recruited guys to fit his system, to play defense, play that pack line defense, slow the game down, reduce the number of possessions each night, and guys that can shoot. I mean, there's plenty of guys on this team that can shoot. Kyle is just on here. He's a great shooter. Porter, he's shooting, right at 50%. Brody Peebles right at 50%. Obviously, we know what Darius can do. And then there's other guys. I mean, Shiloh last year, I know he's struggling some this year, but last year he was around 40% from 3. And there's other ones. Jonathan Jackson, a 3-point specialist who got the last shot Sunday afternoon. And Isaiah Warfield, Joseph Van Zandt, those guys are known for their defense, but they have – shown the capability to knock down an open 3. And, Zay had 3 really good looks the other night. And each time he kind of, I think part of it with him is confidence. I mean, you kind of see that when he missed the first one, he was a little bit less ready to pull the trigger on the second one. By the time he got to the third one, you could just tell he was not feeling comfortable or confident, and he hesitated, and then he took the shot, and then from then on he was like, I'm not shooting anymore tonight. But that's kind of what Coach has done. He's built a team around defense and 3-point shooting, and as we know, he does not he likes either 3-point shots or shots at the basket. He doesn't like these shots in the paint or pull-up jumpers or anything like that. He wants a 3-pointer or a shot right at the basket, and those are the most efficient shots, from a point perspective that a team can have.
Yeah, Chad, you got anything else on this game before we move on?
No, I'm ready to flush it. Let's get it out of here.
Let's get it out. All right. Well, let's look at the updated standings. Stetson leading the way at 4-0. This was a team that went to overtime in an exhibition game against like a NCAA 3 school. John, you saw this coming, right?
No, I didn't see Stetson quite getting out to this much of a good start. And they had a lot of a makeshift roster, or a little bit, a lot of new faces. I mean, Chase Johnson's now at FGCU, and I know that's a guy that's high on Chad's list. But I mean, they're 4-0. They've got a couple of close wins, 2 of them in overtime, Lipscomb and North Alabama, and they knocked off UNF, and then also Jacksonville, both at home. So let's see. I mean, this schedule, it happens every year. You always have a team that kind of races out and kind of surprises a little bit, but they got 2 road games this week coming up in Kentucky, Bellarmine and EKU, and then Liberty and is right around the corner for them too. So I don't think we'll see them at the top of the standings by the end of the year. But yeah, I mean, they're better than I originally envisioned.
Where would you pick them right now to finish the year if you had to?
I think it's Liberty, FGCU, Kennesaw, and Jacksonville as the top teams. I don't know if those will be the top 4, but I would still put my money on those being the top 4 teams at the end of the year. So Stetson, certainly with a 4-0 start, it's going to be hard for them to fall, you would think, much further than, that 4 to 6 range. So that's kind of what I'd pick them. And, of course, if any Stetson fans or players or coaches get a hold of this, they'll be sure to make sure I eat my crow at the end of the year when they finish second or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, I think they're kind of, an upper, middle of the pack type team.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like 4 to 6 is probably the range that I would put them at. Here's the updated net rankings. You see Liberty still well ahead. FGCU still in the top 100. And there's been kind of a big drop off. Jacksonville has really kind of come crashing down the last couple weeks. Of course, can you believe Jacksonville State is 13th in the net, John?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I mean, but to be honest, they've really struggled. I mean, they're 0-4 to start the league play, and they're just not the same team that they were last year. Obviously, I mean, we saw that when they were up here in Lynchburg last week, lost by 34, I think was the final spread. And I think I was texting some of you guys, pregame, like when I was watching the teams warm up, and Jacksonville State has the look of a really good team. Like I think I told you guys, like, they won getting off the bus, right? I mean, they look legit, and like, they got a lot of athletes and guys that can, get up and down the floor and stuff, but they just haven't been able to put it together. Now that's one of those teams that if they end up, the bottom third or so of the league, which are probably headed that way unless they turn things around quickly, I wouldn't want to play them in the first round of the ASUN tournament, because when you're talking about playing a 13 or a 12 seed or whatever it may be, you like to get a game that you feel comfortable you're going to win by 10 plus points. But Jacksonville State, if they can start clicking, they're another team that likes to shoot the three. If they get a hot night, they could be a tough out and a team that could put some others on upset notice.
I got a couple just like, I remember when we did this preseason, we were talking about teams that we thought would finish higher and all this stuff. And I don't know if it was the ASUN like preseason video that they did where he talked to all the coaches, but man, I bought the Central Arkansas hype. I don't know how, but I bought the Central Arkansas hype, and I was buying the Bellarmine hype. I thought that their coach had a system that us three could go in and compete in the ASUN. But they're 10th in the net rankings. And then Eastern Kentucky, that's another one that I thought would be really good or better than preseason rankings, and they are. So I was right on them. The two that I've whiffed on said that they would probably be pretty bad is Queens. Man, they've surprised me. I picked them at the bottom. They're a D2 come up. And, man, those guys are legit. I watched their game Saturday night. They are very good. And then Stetson, I mean, I like you guys were talking about, those are two teams that I thought would finish down near the bottom that are up closer to the top half. And then two teams I had in the top half that are now in the bottom are Bellarmine and Central Arkansas. So those are my surprises. John, Any one or two of those stand out to you about like where you had them preseason to where they are right now in the net rankings?
Yeah, I mean Queens, just piggyback off what you just said. I mean Queens has really shocked me. I mean they were a team that I knew they were very competitive at D2, but I mean Division 2 and playing in a Division 1 conference race as you get into it is a whole different animal. And I figured once they got into it, they would have a difficult time winning, stringing together consecutive wins at the D1 level. But they've been able to do it. They did it in non-conference play, and I learned quickly in non-con that they were going to be a team that were going to win some games during the conference season. So I'm still curious to see where they'll end up. I'm not sure they're a top half of the league type team. I don't think they quite have that level of talent. Now their coaching and their team culture obviously is elite. So we'll see. I don't know if they'll stay up there. Jacksonville's a team that's really interesting to me. I mean, they've got a lot of talent, a lot of pieces back from last year. Team that made it to the ASUN tournament final game. I think they finished second in the North Division with Liberty, just a game or two back, and they play good defense. But they have games where they just cannot make a shot. Can't buy a bucket to save their lives. That happened to Liberty on Sunday, but that happens to Jacksonville more times than not, I think. So, they're an interesting team. Their defense will keep them in most games, but in order to, kind of compete with teams like Liberty or FGCU on a night in, night out basis, I'm not sure they have quite the offensive firepower to do that.
I would rather play Stetson, Kennesaw, or Queens. I would rather play Jacksonville than Stetson, Kennesaw, or Queens in the ASUN tournament. I just think I don't see how Jacksonville is going to outscore Liberty, especially assuming it would be a home game. I don't see it. I don't see how that could happen, barring just a game like Sunday or something that happens once every 5 years. Central Arkansas is interesting to me. I don't think they're that bad. I mean, I don't think they're good. I think they're definitely a bottom half of the league, but they have played at Kennesaw, at home against Florida Gulf Coast, so they took to overtime, home against Eastern Kentucky, then they played at Austin Peay. They go at Queens and at Liberty this next week, but then they're going to play a lot of winnable games towards the end. So I wouldn't be surprised if Central Arkansas, didn't they do this last year where they kind of at the end of the year ended up almost like close to 500 or they snuck up on the bracket. I remember. I can't remember exactly where they finished, but I wouldn't be surprised if Central Arkansas, they're a team that really lets games get away from them and really hurts their efficiency numbers. Like they'll have games where they're in a game, they play competitive for about 30 minutes, and that last 10 minutes, it just snowballs on them. So,
yeah, I mean, I was watching their game against FGCU and obviously pulling for the Bears to pull it out, and they really should have won that game. I think that was a game that FGCU got a 4-point play that like the last 6 or 7 seconds of the game that sent it to overtime. Then, UCA just didn't have enough to keep up with them. So, Liberty's playing them at home this week. I mean, I think that line's going to be somewhere around 20 or whatever. I know we'll get into that in a minute, but that's a big line for Liberty to cover. In Central Arkansas, they've got some talent. They had the rookie of the year, the freshman of the year in the conference last year, and he's a guy that can get a bucket at any time. They got some talent, and they're a lot better, I think, than they were last year. And they may still finish last in the league, but they're not, a bottom feeder. I don't think. I think they're a team in the bottom that can, win a few games here and there.
All right, this was for Will. I watched Kennesaw play the other night, and Youngblood is a very good player, and he's been around, it feels like, forever. I whiffed on this one. I had Kennesaw tanking, and I do think they'll finish in the top 5 in the league. They just have a bunch. Something you forget, especially with college football being so crazy, where it's totally different mindset. In basketball, a senior is a totally different player than they are when they are freshmen. It's like that year is just so important, and I think that's what I'm kind of learning the hard way this year with Kennesaw. Is I thought that they were all going to be the same players, and they all stunk. And no, 1 year of experience in college hoops it can mean the world of difference. And so I think that's where I went wrong with Kennesaw early in the year. I didn't give them credit for their age in that year that they'd been together.
I'm really high in Kennesaw. I'd probably give them like the third best odds of winning the ASUN tournament if I had to choose right now, behind Liberty and FGCU. I think that team is built for a run, just because they have the offense. They're not a terrible defensive team. They're a team that can get hot. They're a team that can play tough, and they do have some experience. So, yeah, I like that Kennesaw team a lot. I'm interested to kind of see how the year plays out for them. Let's take a quick look here at where Liberty stands so far, where the wins and losses have. And if you're looking at this, Liberty 0-3 in quad 1, but 1-1 in quad 2, 1-1 in quad 3, 7-0 in quad 4. This is the kind of resume that's good. You're not great come March. I mean, this is a resume that's not going to hold you back when you're talking 12, 13, 14 seed. Obviously this is assuming you win the conference tournament, and that's a long way away, but it's always good to keep an eye on this. John, anything kind of stand out to you here on the our team sheet sort of here that we've got?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the Liberty team sheet yesterday, and I was just had my fingers crossed that EKU was a quad 3 and not a quad 4, and I was glad that was the case. Hopefully they'll stay there. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think Liberty will end up, if they could end up unbeaten against quad 4, that would be huge. I think that'd be hard to do, obviously, because I mean, so many of their conference games. What do they got? Still 14 conference games plus a conference tournament left. And most of those are going to be quad 4 games. So, to go unbeaten against them would be huge. But yeah, I mean, it's all about seeding. I mean, it's so much of a difference to be a 12 seed than a 14. I mean, if you're a 14, you're going to play a team like an Alabama or someone at that level in the first round of the tournament. Whereas if you can get up to a 12, you can get a team that's, much more beatable. I mean, there's still good teams on the 4 and 5 line, obviously, in the tournament, but they're much more beatable. I mean, that's what we saw a few years ago, right, when Liberty got Mississippi State, a very good Mississippi State team who was probably underseeded that year as a 5 seed, but Liberty got the upset and the win. And if you can get on that 12 line, it's huge. I was looking at some of the bracketology predictions here in the last few days, and a lot of them have Liberty at 12, 13 kind of line. So that's a great place to be right now. You just got to kind of 14 more games left in the regular season. You got to kind of finish strong and have a strong finish the regular season, and then obviously in the ASUN it's a one bid league, so you have to win the tournament, and that's just how it goes.
I had a comment about the movement. Go back to that other slide there. It looks like if I remember right, I watched last week, and ORU and Northwestern were both quad 2, so they've done a little bit of work to get up into quad 1. Makes our quad 2 and record look a little bit better when we're 1-1. And you still go back to that Southern Miss game. I mean, we were the better team. It just felt like that we came out a little flat. But yeah, I just wanted to comment on the movement of ORU and Northwestern up into quad 1, making our quad 2 a 500 and quad 3 500 record. So that's pretty good, and probably will land us on a 13 seed if I was predicting right now.
Yeah, Northwestern beat Indiana yesterday. They were 7-point underdogs, so that really helped them out. And then Oral Roberts is actually playing a really awesome game right now against New Mexico at the Pit. New Mexico was one of the last unbeaten teams, so hopefully they can get a win tonight as well. And then just real quick here, we'll do the look through the KenPom. I'm really going to go too into this, but if you're looking at this, it really kind of shows KenPom views Liberty much more dominant in the ASUN than I think Net does, as you see a much bigger disparity. Pretty much still like the top, 1 through 6. Stetson's a little bit lower, but I'm pretty similar, just kind of, the more predictive model, which KenPom's more predictive than Net. Likes Liberty just a little bit better, even though Liberty's actually 2 spots lower. They just think Liberty's, I think, a little bit further ahead of the pack than that. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to have a word from our sponsor, Ironclad Coffee. When we come back, we're going to look at Liberty's upcoming schedule, and then we will go to the Liberty line with Ritchie Longshots.
Virginia's best and most flames-friendly coffee comes from Ironclad Coffee Roasters. Ironclad roasts and serves up their beautiful beans at 2 cafes in Richmond that you can enjoy their crafted roasted specialty beans from anywhere in the country by visiting www.ironcladcoffee.com. Place your order there, and it'll be roasted to your order and shipped out directly to your doorstep.
Whenever you find yourself in the Commonwealth, pay them a visit at their 2 cafes in the Richmond area. Ironclad's owners, the O'Rourke family, are proud Flames Club members and are pleased to sponsor these podcasts by Sea Red. Hop on over to their website at www.ironcladcoffee.com now to get Virginia's best specialty coffee headed your way.
All right. Thanks as always to Ironclad Coffee for their continued support. Great to have them on board with us as well. All right. Let's look at our player updated leaderboard for Liberty. Obviously, Darius McGee leading the way. Joseph Van Zant continues to lead the way in the offensive rating. John, real quick, I did want to ask you about a couple players, Chad. If you have any other questions for John, feel free to jump in. The big movement has been Blake Preston taking over the starting role for Shiloh Robinson, at least temporarily. Any insight into that?
It's kind of been interesting. Like, we saw him get the start against Lipscomb and Sonis Aguilan. I kind of, wasn't too shocked by that. I mean, I was at first because Liberty had the same starting lineup all season until that night. But then, when you look across the other side of the other team, Coach McKay's done that the last couple of years. He's gone to Blake some, but he's actually played really good this year, in my opinion, in his minutes that he's gotten, and he provides something that I don't think anybody else on the roster right now provides. He's actually, he's a guy that doesn't mind going down in the paint, mixing around with some of the big guys, and doing some dirty work down there, getting some rebounds and putbacks and things like that. So. It's been nice to see, and it's another guy's, veteran, been around for a long time. And Chad actually got a pretty cool photo of him the other day. I think it was what was that, Chad? You got one of him and Darius. They came in the same year together back when they were on their recruiting trip, I think.
Yeah, on their official visit, I got Blake and Darius standing next to each other. And then at the press conference the other day after it was over, they talked about that. They talked about like coming in together and being here for so long together. And we got them a picture of the same exact picture as they had taken 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I love Blake. I love his game. Super efficient player, very underrated. Really feels like he just kind of embodies everything about this Liberty team, where he's a guy who will go games where he doesn't play at all, but he's always ready. When he comes in, he gives you everything he's got. A big fan of him. I'm going to ask you about this, John, but I pretty well know the answer. I know yesterday Coach McKay said, I think, no comment when asked about Darius McGee and his injury. Do you know anything else?
I don't know. I don't know if he had something else happen at EKU or in the previous game towards the end. I know what was the game? It was a Thursday night. Was that the Lipscomb game that he got hurt and kind of left the game early, or was that Jacksonville State?
Jacksonville.
Yeah, that was a lower leg injury, and he was hobbling pretty bad after that game. And I know he had, back, maybe a month ago, and I don't know how many people were paying attention, but during some of these like non-D1 games, you would see him go over to the bench at Liberty Arena and be looked at by trainer Aaron Schreiner, kind of like his hip or like, back, middle part of his back a little bit. I don't know what was going on there. So, I mean, he's obviously dinged up a little bit now. He's got a few different ailments. I think someone was talking about it, EKU, maybe a hamstring. I don't know. I can't confirm that or not. But, he's got a lower leg injury, and then I think he might also have a hamstring or thigh type strain maybe. And then maybe even something else going on maybe with his hip or something. So, but that's just, he's logging a lot of minutes, and, he carries so much of the weight for the Flames, and it's smart for Coach McKay not to let on any more than he has to as far as his injury status, but it'll be good. I mean, this past, 2 weeks or so, it was a lot of games in a short period of time, and especially from Thursday to Sunday, that was a quick turnaround against EKU. So hopefully now with, a few days off, he can rest up some of those bumps and bruises and be ready to go Thursday night.
It seems like Coach McKay's starting to get a little frustrated. Some of his comments yesterday with how physical teams are playing Darius and how officials are letting them play that physical. Are you kind of getting that sense to where he's kind of, really just he had said that the strategy seems to be for teams just to kind of, I don't think he said beat up Darius, but that was kind of what he's getting at.
Yeah, I mean, he's talked about that a lot, really this year and even some last year. He's talking about how physical teams have played Darius, and it's really off the ball more than when he has the ball. I mean, guys, playing one-on-one against Darius, you can barely stay in front of him. I mean, he's so quick and able to create separation so easily almost that it's really off the ball. So, if you ever watch Darius, if you're at a game or if, you got a TV screen that's showing the view where you can see Darius off the ball, just watch him off the ball sometimes. And I think that's where Coach McKay kind of gets upset is a lot of refs do not call those fouls off the ball unless it's, something very blatant. And, so Darius does a lot of work off the ball. I've watched him several times during his career, just sit there and watch him try to move and get open off the ball. And it's a lot more difficult and challenging for him to do it now. But I mean, I understand Coach McKay's frustration, but that's just part of it now. And people know that that's the recipe to try to slow Darius down. And even still, though, he was still able to get a few open looks on Sunday against EKU and just wasn't able to knock him down. I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes.
All right, let's look at our upcoming schedule, and I want to pose this for both of you. I'll start with Chad on this one, and then go to John. Look at these two games: North Alabama, Liberty, 95% chance of winning, 18-point favorites. Central Arkansas, 97%, 21-point favorites. I think depending on how severe some of these injuries or banged up Darius is, I think they should consider sitting him for one or both of these games.
I would say that won't happen. I'll say that won't happen because I think that Darius is playing for his future and draft potential and pro career, and PPGs is very important to somebody like Darius to show that he can come in and score. Now, if he doesn't play, does it count against his points per game? But if he can go at all, I think he plays. It's not like, I don't know. It's one of those things where you have to do what's best, but really by January 19th, so that's 7 more days, is he really going to fully heal? I don't know. But I'm leaning towards that if he can go out there at all, that he goes out there and plays both of those, especially because of how heavily favorites we are. I think he can get in and get his 20 and then get those out of the way in the first half and then sit it out. But I don't know. I'm leaning towards he plays in both of those, even if he's 80%.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you, Chad. I think he'll likely play. I mean, that's just Coach McKay and Coach Darius McGee's kind of forte. They're going to play if they can, and of course we're saying all this. We don't exactly know the extent of his injuries and what he's dealing with, and it might be one of those things that unless you shut him down for the rest of the year, he's just going to be banged up. I mean, that's just what it's going to be. And it's not one of these things that you can just, sit him down for 3 days and it's going to be any better or for a week or whatever it may be. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the rest would be good, but, it might be one of those things once he gets back out there and gets bumped again, it's going to, flare up and it's just part of it. But I did notice, I don't know if you guys picked up on it. I think it was very early in the game Sunday that there was a turnover or a long rebound shot that EKU got and kind of had a fast break. And Darius was behind the guy and could have contested the shot, but I noticed he kind of stopped and just let the guy go for it. And when that happened, I immediately was like, okay, something's not right with Darius because he normally would have at least, attempted to contest the shot. So, and then from then on, he was, Coach McKay was pulling him out, not letting him play as long as he normally would. You would always see him over there on the stationary bike. So he's obviously dealing with something, and you hate to see that. But yeah, I would imagine that he plays unless he just physically cannot go.
Yeah, Central Arkansas is 341st in defensive efficiency, and North Alabama is 326th. So probably good games, especially with the pace that Central Arkansas plays to get your numbers up. If you look past these two games, this is really the gauntlet of the schedules right after that. At Jacksonville, at North Florida. I mean, that's almost like a situation where you're just hoping for a split. And then versus Stetson versus Florida Gulf Coast at Austin P, which is looking a little tougher. I mean, that is a gauntlet of a schedule. I get everything you're saying. I hope we're not getting into like the Stetson game and going, Darius is still banged up. We could have rested him. I don't know. Just more of a thought. I don't know the actual status of Darius, so I'm just speculating. I'm just saying if it's a thing where rest would be beneficial, I think they should consider it long term because they can win these. These are games they can actually win without Darius. They're not going to win at Jacksonville. They're not going to win all those games without Darius.
I agree with you totally. I just have been around McKay for 8 seasons now. 10, how many ever seasons he's been at Liberty? And it feels like anytime we have a question of like, is this guy going to play or not? Should we rest him or not? It always turns out like, yeah, he played. And it comes like, and I've seen guys go out there hobbled. Like Darius was apparently like very apparent that he was hobbled Sunday and still kept him in there. So, I mean, looking at it from that, I would agree. Like if this was any other situation, I would probably say that, yeah. So we all agree, but it's not going to happen. He's not sitting.
But, looking at this schedule, these next 2 games are very important. I mean, if, of course, 95%, 97%, we're not thinking that Liberty's going to drop either one of these 2. But if they were to, that's not good going into these next several games. I mean, Liberty needs to get back on track and win these 2 games at home comfortably. Because, going down to Jacksonville for those 2 games back to back, I mean, Liberty's never played good at UNF. Have they even won a game at UNF? I think I remember when the ASUN tournament in 21 was played down there. Liberty had never won prior to that in that arena, but they didn't play the Ospreys then. But they won the championship obviously that weekend. And then Jacksonville beat them. Jacksonville hasn't lost at home under their new head coach Jordan Mincy, which I say new, is now in his second year there. So that's obviously a tough place to play. And then Stetson, they're back at home, but like we talked about earlier, they're 4-0 right now. And then obviously FGCU. I mean, anywhere you play them, I think, they're right there. It's kind of a toss-up game. I know it says 74%. I would not put 74% of my money on Liberty winning that game. I think the Flames will win, but it's more of a toss-up than that. And then I agree, Austin Peay's another tough one. They're a team that's playing a lot better recently, and that's a tough 5 game. And then at Lipscomb too, obviously, but those 5 or 6 games are there really tough. Liberty really needs to come out and get these next 2.
It shows you how much of a emphasis home road is in Ken Palm's rankings, where Florida Gulf Coast is 115th, Austin Peay's 226th, but you actually have a better chance of beating Florida Gulf Coast according to Ken Palm. I'm with you on that, but I do think there's a reason Ken Palm makes his living off these numbers. So there definitely is something to that. But yeah, this is a huge week for Liberty, and I mean, you hope that they can win these games at least close to their margin. I don't think a lot of people realize it, but if you only beat Central Arkansas by 10 points, that's worse than the loss to Eastern Kentucky for your computer numbers. So yeah, I mean, they are definitely important. Chad, any other final thoughts here on the schedule?
Yeah, road games are so much harder to win in basketball because of the gyms. Look at EKU's gym; it had a concrete wall like 10 feet behind the rim. I mean, I remember as a shooter, back in my Pee-wee days, that when the concrete was that close, that's what I was used to. And then we went and played in some convocation type centers or civic centers, and they didn't have any walls behind I couldn't, like, the depth perception was crazy. So I do think that there's a lot to road games being a lot harder in college basketball than they would be, say, college football. I mean, in football, you're only getting like 3 points for road games. I think in college basketball, you're getting a lot more just because of that depth perception. We saw it on Sunday. I mean, we shot 17%, and there was a huge concrete wall right behind the rim. So it's weird how that can impact. So no, that was just, yeah, there you go. I was showing my wife this. I was like, yeah, I mean, look at the ceiling. It's a really cool looking place, but I bet you it was pretty hard to shoot there with that big white concrete right there and just such a high ceiling. It's just a unique type gym.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're an hour in. we're rolling. We're doing well. It's now time for the Liberty Line. The big baller brand Ritchie Longshots is in the house. What is going on?
Not much. I was getting ready, listening, and I heard, all right, we're going to take a look at the schedule, and comes back to you guys, and I hear, all right, let's talk about the lineup changes. I'm thinking, I got about 25 more minutes before I have to fully get ready. But no, chilling, living life. Turn the football game off because that thing is curtains. That game is over. It was done about halfway through the first quarter. But poor TCU. Great season though.
Do you think Georgia's going to cover my 7.5 point spread?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I could play quarterback for Georgia in the second half. They'll cover the second half. They'll cover 7.5.
Just kneel, right?
It was funny to watch viewership go up. Watch the viewer counts go up whenever Georgia would score a touchdown. Viewers would like peak, and then so it's been a blowout. I know John, during that whole thing, first of all, John and I can get together and just talk way too much. So sorry, Nick, for trying to corral that, and for Ritchie for being behind schedule. Second thing is, John, there was some breaking news during that. We got a football commit, and I saw John trying to work that out while answering questions, and he has to be right on top of it. Plus, there's a lot of questions around the Liberty Twitter Bracket Challenge right now. There's tons of mentions and people asking questions. So John's got his hands full tonight. I hope he sticks around and watches this because he has been hot picking against the spread here recently.
Yeah, John has been hot. 6-3 in the last week, creeping up closer to 500. Is anyone going to catch Ritchie Longshots? I mean, how comfortable right now do you feel with your 6 ahead of me right now?
Not very comfortable. All it takes is, a week where you have 9 wins, I have 3 wins, and we're back to even. So no, I don't think nothing's safe. We still have all of February to go, but no, nothing is set in stone yet, and there's a lot of basketball to be played.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a week above 7 wins all year, so we'll see about that. Here was last week's. Let's get to this week's picks. First, tomorrow night, fun game, UNC at Virginia. We all went with the Cavaliers -4. Longshots riding the number 1 team in the country preseason to cover the 4-point spread.
Yeah, so ever since Carolina was knocked out of the top 25, they have kind of started to really right the ship. UVA's 1-4 in their last 5 against the spread, and UNC looked great against Notre Dame. Baycott is one of the best big men in the country. He plays above his size. And I just think UNC is playing really well right now. UVA, again, 1-4 against the spread. I don't think UNC is going to have any trouble going on the road against Virginia. This team has played in, I think, probably the biggest college basketball game in history against Duke in the Final Four last year. So I don't think going on the road is a concern at all. So, 1 possession game, give me 4 points.
Yeah, I definitely think Virginia's going to win. But I think it'll be close. I think this will be one that's last possession. Is it the 4-point spread or not? All right. Next Wednesday, Alabama at Arkansas. Really fun game. We completely split on this. I went with Arkansas. I feel like Arkansas's had a lot of tough breaks this season. If you look at some of shot quality and stuff like that, they really like Arkansas. They faded Alabama a little bit. But I love the Crimson Tide. I said before, that might be one of my sleeper national champion picks.
Let me jump in here. Sorry, I'm just going to jump in here and say that I'm strictly playing the numbers. There's no way that Alabama should be a 1-point favorite. I mean, given the rankings, given what they've done this season, given everything, there's no way. So I was like, when Vegas knows something, Ritchie taught me this a long time ago. when Vegas knows something, you ride with Vegas. And I know he's going to say Bama's a wagon, but if you're looking at it from just like glancing at this thing, which is basically what I did, I'm saying, no, there doesn't make sense. So I'm going with Vegas.
I love a 1-point, 2-point dog at home. I love that.
Eye test. Alabama has been the real deal. High majority of their games this year. I'm going to try to pull up their record on the road, but they look great. 13-2 this year. Conference game, they've covered their last 3. 3-1 away against the spread. Arkansas 5-6 against the spread at home. So Bama could do it on the road. That was a throttling of Kentucky, and we'll get into Kentucky later, but that was a throttling. That was a statement win that I think they build off of.
This is why you're in first place.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Arkansas's 10th in Ken Palm, though. This is they're a good team, and this is Arkansas is not Kentucky. They're tough.
No,
this is a fun
agreed.
game. I think this is the first time I've faded Bama all year. So no, I love Bama. I need a couple more points. I'll be interested. This is a really interesting actual spread because I have no idea what the
is it out yet? There's no look ahead yet. But I mean, I just looked. Arkansas's last 5 games, they lost to Auburn, they beat Missouri, they lost to LSU, and then they beat Asheville and Bradley. So like, what are we doing here?
What have they done at home this year? They haven't lost at home this year. Those games are on the road. It's a different environment. You have a huge boost. They're 10th in Ken Palm. I don't know. We'll see. This will be a fun one to watch out. Now I'm more invested in this game.
Right? I'll be watching it Wednesday night.
All right. I faded the Flames. I hated doing it. There is no way I would take North Alabama plus 18 if I knew for sure Darius McGee was 100%, but with Darius McGee not being 100%, that's a lot of points for me. That's pretty much it. That's my entire logic on this.
I think he plays. Like you said, he's going to want to play. He's going to want to be involved. It might be a Darius plays the first half type. We cover 18. I think we have enough depth to, if he does come out and we are, if we're up 20 points at the half, I'm not worried about some of the 6, 7, 8 guys coming in and just letting up and blowing the lead. I think you can kind of keep it consistent if it is a big lead at half and he does come out.
And North Alabama's been a decent, better than recent years this year. I mean, they just lost to Stetson in overtime. Only a 4-point loss at Bellarmine. They did beat Jacksonville State on the road. So they're an interesting team. And they also had a crazy win over Ole Miss that I think it was a very fluky game, but whatever. But Chad, what made you go with North Alabama in this one?
I love their coach. He's been consistent for a long time. And sometimes in conference play, you can throw all of that out because this coach knows that coach, this system knows that system, and they can game plan. He's been game planning for Darius McGee for a long time. And, I just think that he understands. I mean, they feel like, I don't know, it feels like the last few times we've played them, it's been close. And, I just sometimes in conference games like this, we absolutely obliterated Jacksonville State, but in conference games like this, especially when the coach has been around for a long time, I feel like you just have to play to at least a 10-point game. When it's 18, you're like, man, like Tony's not going to come in here and get beat by 18. Not. I don't know. Even if he doesn't have the horses, he'll have the strategy.
You hear me out though. Darius doesn't play. He zigs, we zag.
Yeah,
now
that's
we
true.
Know what to do.
That's true. I don't know if I would have.
I
don't want to zag without Darius. I'll be honest. I'd rather zag any other way, but not without Darius.
Before this year, Liberty really struggled to cover these big spreads. This is kind of the first year that it's happened a lot.
Too.
So This is. I'm interested to see how these games
great
play
point.
out.
That's a great point.
All right, we're split on this too. Florida Gulf Coast at Eastern Kentucky. I think this was the one game that I went back and forth the most on. All the numbers just support EKU. I like in my gut think no, EKU's not going to win, not going to play that well in back-to-back games against the two best teams in the conference, but all of the numbers that I looked at completely supported going with EKU. Longshots are champion. You're going with both of you guys are going with FGCU.
Yeah, I just think, EKU just won that game because we missed 4 of 21 from 3. We hit 2 of those threes. We win this game. We win that game. We hit 3 of those threes. We win that game and cover. So I fully expect FGCU to shoot well. Their numbers on the road, not that bad. I'm surprised. I thought this would be more 5-6 points. So I will, trust FGCU on the road. Experienced team. EKU. Did you see that celebration in the locker room? Might have been reading their press clippings. Partied a little too hard. So yeah, no, they're way too amped up for winning a conference game in January. That I think Florida Gulf Coast comes in and humbles them.
Well, welcome back, John. Any comments on the first 3 games?
No, I'm riding with Liberty, especially in these home games as big favorites until they flame out. Sorry for the pun. And I'm with you on Alabama. I'm not picking against them after seeing what they did to Liberty back early in the year. I'm not picking against them. I think I picked the Crimson Tide every time we've had them during this pick'em contest, and I'm gonna continue to ride with them.
Speaking of slipping up after a big win, did you see the guy in the celebration almost break his neck? The head coach come flying in the locker room like it slips, and I was like, man, they got him up off the ground, and he was able to have a little bit of a water fight there after a conference win. But yeah, I do think that EKU is going to follow that lead, and they're going to slip up here against FGCU after a big win against Liberty.
I couldn't go away from the numbers. I do think, though, when EKU comes to Liberty, Liberty's going to beat them by 30. But on to Jacksonville at Kennesaw. This line has got to be more than -2, because if this line is actually -2, I'm putting a lot of real coin on this one.
I agree. I saw that, and I went, oh, all right.
I wonder if Jason Porter's got a home equity line of credit guy we can get that will get us get us a ton of bankroll here. If this line's
responsibly,
2, yeah, responsibly. If this is -2, yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, Jacksonville's 3-6 against the spread this year on the road. Kennesaw State back at home. Last 2 games have been away. I love a team coming home for the first time. Imagine, it's going to be a decent crowd, students coming back to campus. But yeah, this should be a runaway. So the free square for the week.
Those of you listening that are considering taking that advice, don't. Anytime we all pick the same team, it fails. So Jacksonville's going to win that one straight up.
Yeah. When you see, we should get someone to run the stats of like when we all 4 pick something, what actually happens.
Now, the last couple we've actually we started off really bad on that, but the last couple I think we've done pretty well. We didn't have one last week.
We're in the swing of things now.
I saw one down there. Go back last week. I saw one down there.
Did we?
Towards the bottom. UNF.
Yeah,
we all missed that one.
Kennesaw.
Nice.
Oh, Kennesaw. We all got Kennesaw.
And Kennesaw though.
So 50%. So somebody get Jason Porter's home equity line of credit guy.
Oh, then we also had the Liberty game. Go back.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah. I feel like Liberty shouldn't count though. If that's
we were 2-1 last week.
Yeah,
that's a profit.
We're hot.
2-1 is group rides. Here we go.
All right, I'm the only idiot that went San Diego State -8. I think people are overhyping New Mexico a little bit with their hot start. San Diego State, this is their conference. They are going to come out. They're going to want to have a statement win, and all the numbers support them winning.
I expect San Diego State to win this game, but 8 points is a lot against a good New Mexico team.
Let me tell you why
a ton of points a game.
Oh, sorry, Richie. This is why I picked New Mexico, is because they paid Ritchie McKay like $400,000 for his first 2 or 3 years when he was our coach, because he was making $600 there. He came here and was only making $200, but part of his buyout was they had to pay the difference for like the first 3 or 4 years. So ever since then, I've been riding New Mexico. Thank you for that 1.5 million, 1.4 million that they paid McKay to come here. I love that. So go Lobos.
Yeah. San Diego State 4-9 this year against the spread as favorites. New Mexico 2-0 against the spread as underdogs. And again, they have a high-powered offense, and they're gonna be shooting all game long. So in a game like that, you can give me 8, I'll take it.
New Mexico has a bit of the tournament since 2014, so suck on that for getting rid of Ritchie. Well,
Was that the team? Is that the team that they shot the guy? Or is that New Mexico State?
That's our
future conference.
Future conference rival state.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm not picking against them. I am not picking against them. Whatever. Hey, it's New Mexico State all day. And by the way, if we're going to give Ritchie a contract extension, can somebody get New Mexico on the phone and see if they'll pony up some of the cash? That was a good deal for us. I like that.
All right. Saturday, Kentucky at Tennessee. Kentucky has looked atrocious. I don't know why I picked this. None of the numbers support this. 13 points for Kentucky. They were a preseason like top 10 team. Just a lot of points. I don't know.
Those kids went to Kentucky to play in the Final Four, and they are going to go back to the NIT. Those kids have quit. There's some Coach Cal's seats getting a little warm. They haven't won an NCAA tournament game in like 4 years, which is insane. Sure, you got COVID, but that's an insane stat. I think Kentucky is just dead team walking. Rivalry game 2, Tennessee's going to run it up. It could get ugly.
I picked this because Coach Cal on the hot seat. I saw those articles flashing. Coach Cal has a lifetime contract at Kentucky. He's not going anywhere, and he's not on the hot seat. Kentucky cannot fire him. There's not enough money in that state to fire Coach Cal. He's not going anywhere, and this is where he gets those guys right. And they're going to surprise us with a second half run. Watch, there's too much talent down there, and he will pull the right strings. He is, when you're talking about motivator of elite talent and sometime drama queens, that's right up Coach Calipari's alley, and he'll have this team clicking. They easily cover 13 against Tennessee. That's another one that I'm willing to parlay with our Kennesaw pick.
All right, yeah, I like the Bulls. They're still 25th in KenPom, so I think they feel worse than they are. That's what I'm going with. All right, Saturday, Stetson at EKU -1. It's hard to take a home team that's only -1. I think this line will probably be higher, and if this line is like EKU -4 or -5, I actually really like Stetson in that type of line, but I can't go with -1.
No, ESPN has this game with EKU as a 72% chance to win. And that line's still only at 1. It's kind of fishy to me, where like if you said if this line gets to 4 or 5, again, I'm not partaking in sports betting for the month of January. However, if I were, and this line Stetson at +4 or 5, it might have to wet the beak a little bit.
Hammer it.
And it's in that gym we just saw a picture of. So Stetson, good luck shooting in there.
Stetson, man, I don't. That team's just wild. I have no idea what to expect from them on a nightly basis. So interesting team.
It's time for Stetson, the Hatters, to come back down to reality. They're not going to escape this week undefeated. So why not lose here?
All right. We'll see if the wood ceiling does them in. Austin P at Lipscomb. Longshots, you are the only one going with the Bison -4.
Yeah, every week I have one of these games. I just strictly go off my gut, my instinct. I don't look at any of the numbers. And I did look at the fact that Austin P, they're the Governors. You think I'm going to bet on a team called the Governors? Not a chance. Give me Lipscomb.
Austin P coming off back-to-back wins over Florida Gulf Coast and a 24-point win over Central Arkansas. So I thought that team was dead in the water in the ASUN, but they're playing well. It's just a wild league, especially after like that top 6. It is anyone's guess beyond that.
I don't know how much any of you guys have looked ahead at some of these conference schedules, but the ASUN has done it the rest of the way. It's going to be a Thursday, Saturday, pretty much every week, and you're playing, travel partners. So like EKU and Bellarmine, everybody's going to go play those 2 games at once. Or Central Arkansas is matched up with North Alabama. Liberty is matched up with Queens. So you're going to play those 2. But then your travel partner, the week that you play them back to back. So that's what's going on with Austin P and Lipscomb. They're travel partners. They actually play twice this week. Liberty will play Queens twice in the same week at the end of the regular season. So this is actually a home week between the Governors and the Bisons, and this is the second game back at Lipscomb. So kind of interesting little nugget there.
I understand being from New Jersey, you don't like your governor, but down here in Virginia, we typically like the Governors. So that's why I went with Austin P.
You don't know who I voted for.
Let's do it. Let's turn this thing political. What do you got? You got any political lines for us, Nick? I'm just
no,
kidding.
Definitely no.
On to Kark and Liberty.
Kark, I cannot believe I put Kark plus 21. It's just I don't just Darius status. It's a lot of points.
I have to be careful saying Kark on this show.
Yeah, I will.
Sometimes
say
with that Southern accent, I don't know what y'all are talking about.
I will say that my main reason for picking against Liberty in the spread these 2 games this week is because of our history of not being able to blow out conference opponents. I think that Jacksonville State is the anomaly. I do think we win both of them, but 18-21 against conference opponents is a lot for a Liberty team that typically beats conference opponents by 9, 10, 11.
Not for the best team in school history.
Oh, here we go.
There it is. There it is.
Nick
not now. I got to get to bed.
Yeah,
not true. Now.
Nick told me before you came on, do not ask John about that, and I said, yes, sir.
I've been waiting for it, but hey, let's do it.
Now, if they beat Central Arkansas by 21, it's consensus.
Slam dunk.
I mean,
it's done.
Debate's closed. Shut it down for the year. It's over.
It's done.
All right, rounding out our week with a fantastic mid-major game. North
Group
Texas
ride.
At Florida Atlantic. We're all going with Florida Atlantic. I got bit by Florida Atlantic last week. I'm going to try again. I think I was the only one that had them -5 against UAB, and they won, but it was only by 2 or 3. This is a great game. I love these matchups. Is FAU staying in CUSA, or is that FIU?
Yeah, FIU staying in Conference USA. FAU is going to the AAC, unfortunately.
This was for the Boca Mayor. Mayor, this pick was for you.
Yes, our good friend, the mayor of Boca Raton.
Our great friend, the mayor.
Yeah.
So,
who you know is locked in right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He told us to bring our businesses down to Boca.
And we're considering it.
Yeah. We might be doing the show on the beach next year. FAU this year, 10-2 against the spread. That's preposterous.
Yeah, the one of the 2 they lost was one I picked.
Yeah. So I
Thanks,
think,
fellas.
riding Boca.
Yeah. I like FAU. FAU's a good team. FAU's the kind of team that they get in the NCAA tournament, them or UAB, that Sweet 16 potential for sure. All right, fellas. Any final parting words? I'm not even going to do a closing. I think we've beat this to death. Any final thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I do want to get John's thoughts on John. You had a tweet earlier from a Sea of Red that said it was John. John, you had the tweet that said, I'm just kidding. It did say during the game we were thumping Jacksonville State. Former we were on a hot streak, hadn't lost in a while. The team net was really high, and you said this team may be the best team in Liberty history. I did see for people who took that and ran with it, you did a reply tweet directly to that one and basically kind of talked through it. Was that just you feeling good that night? Were you really thinking that they really could, if they stayed on that trajectory, become one of the best teams or the best team in school history? Talk to us a little bit about that tweet. Why then? Why in January? Why did it feel right to say they may become the best team in school history?
Sometimes when you're feeling something, you just got to go with it, man. I mean,
Love
so
it.
that's what I did. But no, I mean, I do think that this team has the potential to go down as the best team in school history. It's January, what is it, the 9th tonight? So, and that game was, I think, the 5th. We don't know. It's too early to be talking best team ever. I agree with that. But sometimes when you're in the heat of moment, you just got to go with it. But I do think this team has the potential to get there. I mean, if they end up, with, 13, 14 conference wins plus win the conference tournament, and then you never know. You get into the big dance with a guy like Darius McGee. You never know. I mean, I wouldn't count Liberty out with him, on that big stage at any time. And plus, like, this is Liberty basketball we're talking about. Some of these people that are saying, "Oh, this team is nowhere near a top 5 of all time," or wouldn't sniff it or anything, like, yeah, that's not true. Like, let's go back and look in the history books. There's not that many Liberty basketball teams. Look, I'm the biggest Liberty fan of all, right? But there's not that many Liberty basketball teams that can literally be on that, quote unquote Mount Rushmore. I mean, yeah, the 2019 teams, the 2020 teams, both of those teams I think are the kind of standard bearers right now as the top 2 teams in school history. Probably got 1 or 2 others there in the McKay era that would rival that. I also think the 1997 team that did not make the NCAA tournament, that lost in the ASUN championship game or the Big South championship game back in the day, was a very good team. But I mean, yeah, look, I mean, and it's a long ways to go, but if Liberty ends up a top 70 team, as you see here, it's the second best finish in KenPom of all time. The only better one was 2019. So, it's not like, that tweet, was it a little early? Yes, it was a little early. I get that. I mean, we shouldn't be having those conversations till, May and June when there's nothing else going on. But I think the team has the potential to be that good. And the key is the defense. If the defense keeps playing the way they have been playing, especially prior to the EKU game, not that they didn't play well there, they were fine. But if they keep playing the way they were those first 3 conference games, I'm not sure there's many teams in the league that's going to be able to beat Liberty. I mean, we saw how poor Liberty had to shoot against EKU for them to be able to, hold on for a 3-point win at the end. So, no, Liberty was never going to, go 18-0 in conference play. So just because they lost EKU doesn't mean that, okay, that tweet, may as well delete it at this point in time. No, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I think this team does have the potential I think it's probably already a top 5 team unless they completely tank the next 6 weeks. It's probably already in the top 5 of all time. And if they finish like I expect them to finish, I think the floor is a top 3 of all time team.
Hey, I love it, man. 53rd in the net the next morning when we woke up. I was making it feel like they did have that potential. So, Nick, you got something pulled up here. What we got?
This is the KenPom, just kind of backing what John was saying. I mean, yeah, this is the second highest KenPom ranking in school history. So get out of here with this isn't a top 5 team. That's garbage. But I mean, this is 63rd in adjusted offense, 81st in adjusted defense. The 2019 team is the only team that was in the top 100 in both of those. So this is, a legit top 100 offense, top 100 defense. Only happened once before. Didn't happen to the 30-4 team. That team was 107th. So yeah, I mean, this team is really, really good. I don't know how the rest of the season is going to play out, but this is a good team, and anyone saying otherwise is misinformed.
Yeah, and to go from being whether you're the 3rd best or the greatest of all time, I mean, a lot of that comes down to NCAA tournament, right? I mean, or even like if Liberty were to somehow get beat on a buzzer beater in the ASUN tournament final, I don't think you can call this the best team of all time because you didn't achieve your ultimate goal. But if they do, and if they were to win a game or 2, well, then, now let's have that debate. Let's have that debate between this team and those 2 teams. Unfortunately, that 2020 team didn't get the chance to get in the NCAA tournament, and we could debate this another time. But I think the 2019 team gets an unfair rap, which is kind of crazy considering it's the only team in school history to ever win any NCAA tournament game. But that team was pretty good.
Yeah, great stuff.
The numbers supported that. The ASUN was a lot worse, so I think the numbers could have got maybe a little skewed between the 2 years. But yeah, the 2019 team, I think that's the best team. I don't think the 2020 team got a fair enough shake. And obviously, they go win 2 games in the NCAA tournament. Their in numbers end up looking a lot better. So who knows on that? But let's wrap it up there. We only went an hour and a half. I mean, pretty short show tonight. But as always, if you haven't, for some reason, you're still watching and you're not subscribed to A Sea of Red, you probably are. So subscribe. We appreciate that. If you are watching, we are planning mostly Sunday nights the rest of the year. We'll be back Sunday night in the next couple weeks on Sunday night. So look forward to that. Ritchie?
Probably not Super Bowl Sunday, I would imagine.
Oh, no, we're going head-to-head, baby. We're going head-to-head.
It worked well with the
Just
national
said,
championship
no.
game tonight.
I don't think it's going to be 45-7 that happened to Super Bowl. But we'll see.
Let's go head-to-head with Taylor Swift. Is she the halftime show? Let's go right at halftime.
Oh, yeah, that'll be great. No, I think I might actually do well with our fan base there.
You take the only preacher out of this show, and we just blow the total time out of the water. Something's wrong. We might have missed our calling.
I think Southern Baptists are quick, right? They're like 20 minutes in and out on Sunday. No.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah,
probably.
You don't go to my church.
Sorry, Pastor Joseph.
That's a great way to end this night. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.